Leading Edge with Mindy Audlin and Stacy Collins.
Welcome back. Welcome back to The Leading Edge. I'm Mindy Audlin. Stacy Collins is out learning new things that she can bring back and share with us, hanging out with some fantastic ministerial candidates. So shout out to you, Stacy, and to all of your colleagues. And thank you to all of you who have been part of what we're creating here with this program and bringing information, leadership skills to help you bring your mission to life. We love hearing from you. Today's about how do you engage explorers? How do you reach people who have never heard of you before? And how do you invite them to be part of what you are creating? Our studio line is open at 816-251-3555. And I see that Teresa is here joining us. So Teresa, welcome. Thanks for being part of our Leading Edge experience here. Did you have a question for me?
I thought you had asked for people to share their points of entry, so I thought I would share that.
I love it. I love it. So, Teresa, I know who you are. Why don't you introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about you and what you do at Unity of Arlington?
Correct. Yes. Well, thank you for that acknowledgement. I am Teresa Riggs. I am a prayer chaplain and volunteer coordinator at Unity of Arlington here in Texas. And my point of entry was actually quite a few years ago. My faith tradition I was raised in was Catholicism, and I still consider myself Catholic with a small c, universal, right?
Right.
So I was very active in my Catholic community in Denton, and I had been single for about 23 years, and started visiting with a man online who is now my husband. Another lovely story, but not for this day. And he had talked to me a little bit about what his family had been involved in for many years, which was CSL.
Mm-hmm.
And he sent me a subscription to Science of Mind magazine.
Nice.
With my first month, I felt like I had come home.
Yeah.
I thought, what authentic truth. This is touching my heart in excuse me, in a way that has really never been touched in that place before. And I felt called home. Now, I continued to sing in the choir and do all the things at my Catholic community for several more years, but with a totally different mindset, a totally different open awareness, more metaphysical, obviously. And as our relationship progressed, we started dating long distance, and then got married and looked into joining a CSL, which we did a study group, and then our little points of entry all along the way have brought us to where we are deliriously happy. All the steps that you have mentioned up to this point were areas where we were just, I think, divinely guided to engage at that particular moment in that particular place with those particular people. Mm-hmm. So I think there was so much wonderful spirit inspiration there. So I just thought I would share that story because that magazine changed my life.
I love that. And so for those that aren't familiar, CSL stands for Centers for Spiritual Living. And so when I hear in that is the first point of entry, your first connection with New Thought was Science of Mind magazine. What was it? When was do you remember the first time you walked into a New Thought community?
In South Dakota. My husband and I had been married for about 2 years, and he was transferred to South Dakota, of all places, Pierre, South Dakota, small community, and they had a study group with a beautiful minister there. Mm-hmm. And so we did study group, but there wasn't actually a church yet.
Okay.
I started studying to become a practitioner. I did all the foundation classes, and then we moved back to Texas. So we went to CSL in Dallas, which was fabulous, but just a little bit of a lengthy drive for us. Mm-hmm. And then we went to see Paul John in Unity of Fort Worth, not even realizing that there was a Unity of Arlington. I don't know how we missed it, but for several years we went to Unity Fort Worth, and then driving by on Bowen Street one day, we see this beautiful little tucked away place, Unity of Arlington, and decided to stop in and from the moment we were there, we felt so loved. Glenda was one of the first people that I spoke to. They were signing up for Spirit Group. I mean, talk about timing.
Good
And
timing. Yep.
we signed up, and we have been just totally involved, engaged. My husband is on the board, and we are just totally engaged in that community. And I'm loving what you're saying about the different levels, because I'm one of those not shy people. So,
Right.
that people are going to have a hard time engaging at their level of comfort. So your information is incredibly valuable to me. Thank you so much for sharing it.
Well, thank you so much for calling in, and thank you for. I know you're volunteer coordinator, and I know that is sacred work right there. So, thank you for all that you do to get people plugged in. I know that your community in Arlington, is very service oriented, and how fun it is to get to bring these teachings to life in a way that is tangible, that is, serving each other and serving your community. So thank you so much for calling in, Teresa.
I'm very grateful to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So I want to just, thank you again, Teresa, for calling in. Just to highlight a couple things from what Teresa was sharing. So a few things to notice is that, one, so here she is in a Catholic church, but she's found some teaching. She's found some literature that resonates. So I think sometimes we look at people and like, oh, well, they're in another church, and we don't want to go scoop them up out of their churches, right? But there's a lot of people out there who have been reading about these teachings. There's people who have been reading the Daily Word, or reading Science of Mind magazine, or reading metaphysical types of materials, and maybe this isn't as far out for them as we might sometimes in our mind think it is. So then the question is, how do we get them in the door so it's not just reading a magazine, but it's being engaged? I mean, what a gift to this community to have someone like Teresa who jumps in and steps into leadership, and her husband as well. So how do you engage those people? How do you make sure that when they arrive, how do you make sure they find you, so that you can invite them in? And then how do you engage them? So Teresa shared that she signed up for a small group right away. So I love that. It is a great way to get integrated and to get to know a community. And I also love how you shared the very first community that you joined was a study group, a brand new community. And it sounds like, and I know I don't have you, Teresa, you might have to post in the Facebook group again. And thank you for sharing in our Facebook group. It's how I knew who you were and what you do. But you might want to share. I know when you first went to that CSL study group, I'm guessing that was probably the most powerful form of marketing. People don't like that word, outreach. The most powerful form of outreach. Word of mouth. You're dating somebody and they're into this thing and they tell you about it. You have a friend like me, she's into this thing and she tells you about it. So where we're going to go with this is looking at specifically what I call channel strategies, which are, what are the things that your organization, what are you doing intentionally to reach those explorers? You know who they are, you have your thing. So, here's your goal. My goal is, when I find someone that I know is into, for me, personal development. For Teresa, it's New Thought teachings. So when I run into someone who I know is a good fit for our community, I know what I'm inviting her to. I'm inviting her to my study group. I'm inviting her to my spirit group. I'm inviting her to my Sunday service. So we have that piece in place. Now the question is, what is our strategy for reaching out to those people? Okay, and this is I call this channel strategy, which are, what are the channels, what are the avenues that you use to reach out to new people? And this is, again, pull out that pen, pull out that paper, and think about what you do as a community to reach new people. A lot of times we get communities and we love each other and we love seeing each other and we love putting together our Sunday service, but how much energy are we putting into actually reaching out to new people and bringing new people into our community? New people bring so much energy, such a fresh perspective. They bring their curiosity, they bring their questions. It is so fabulous bringing new people into the community. So what is your strategy for doing that. Now, before I get into sharing some specific nitty-gritty ideas on how you can use different channels to reach out to new people, here is my preface, my disclaimer. If you are a small community, if you have limited resources of time or funds or volunteers, then scale your marketing strategy appropriately. And I say that because I see people who go to a social media class and they hear about all the different, there's Facebook and there's Twitter and there's TikTok and there's LinkedIn and there's all these different things. And they walk away thinking, oh my gosh, I have to be on all of these things. And who is going to maintain it? If you do not have someone who can consistently tend to those channels, then don't go there yet. Don't go there yet. You'll grow. And when you grow, you can go there. So either to be able to have the resources to hire someone to do it, or to have the resources to have volunteers who can consistently offer content to those channels. So I shared some examples. How do you reach new people? For a lot of us, it's social media. Social media is great, doesn't cost a lot. It does take some time and it does take some intentionality. But if you've got your pen and paper out, take a look at your own community, your own organization, and jot down, what do we have? Do you have a Twitter page? Do you have a Facebook page? Do you have a Facebook group? Do you have a TikTok account? Are you on Instagram? Like, where are you? Are you on LinkedIn? Like, where are you online? And how are you using each of those channels? So social media might be one of your strategies for reaching newcomers. Note, it doesn't have to be, but it might be. So write it down. Your website. Do you have a website? And again, this is one of those things that's nice if you have it, but if you don't, I've seen people who have launched businesses with just a Facebook page. So if you've got a website, write it down, because that's a way that you can reach people. Postcards, if you do a newsletter, if you do a mail out, that's a way you can reach people. Putting flyers out in the community, you could do that. As I mentioned, the most effective way to reach new people, the most effective, is word of mouth. WOM, word of mouth. I would say if you only have one strategy that you have the resources to really do well, do word of mouth. Now, when I say do it well, there's people thinking, well, how do you do that well? Because isn't that just, you just kind of hope that people tell their friends. Word of mouth as a channel strategy is different than just hoping people tell their friends. If your strategy is, we are going to really leverage the power of word of mouth, here are some ideas for how to do it. Now, I'll share some things that I've seen and some of my own experience as well. So as you know, my background, I was, visiting all kinds of these non-denominational, huge churches, and they do word of mouth so well, so well. Here's one of the things that I saw from Life Church. Thank you, Craig Groeschel. Great idea. I went to visit Life Church, and what they do is they do series. So they were about to start a new series on relationships or dealing with change, whatever it was. I don't remember what the series was about, but they were about to begin a new series. It was about a week or two away. And when I went to visit on my chair, when I went to visit on Sunday morning on my chair, there were 3 postcards that said, our new series starts on such and such date, and it's going to be all about relationships. So they gave everybody 3 postcards so that everybody could invite 3 friends. And I had something that I could, if I knew somebody who was like, oh my gosh, they're struggling in their relationship or they're looking for a relationship, I have a tool that I can put into the hands of a friend so that not only am I saying, wow, this was a really great community. Music was amazing. The message was amazing. Here is a new series that's about to start. I think you would like this series. So that is a word of mouth strategy. It's actually 2 word of mouth strategies. One of the strategies is putting a postcard in the chair for people to share. The second part of that strategy is having a series-based content session. So instead of just having a different random theme every single Sunday, to be able to design your Sunday experience in terms of themes. Now, we do this in Spirit Groups, where we have a kickoff event and then we do 6 weeks of content. So if you are the minister of a community like that, you could pick the content. You could say, for these 6 weeks, and maybe even a teaser. So maybe for these 7 weeks, we're going to talk about, whatever it is you want to talk about. We're going to talk about prayer. We're going to talk about prosperity. We're going to talk about being of service. We're going to talk about dealing with change. We're going to talk about anxiety and stepping into faith. You can pick whatever topic you want. The strategy is design it into a series. Because why? Because that gives people a reason to invite friends. Like, hey, our church is doing this new thing and it's about to start and you want to be there at the beginning. So you're not always saying ask every single week. You're saying, hey, this is the time, this week and next week, invite your friends who you think would be interested in this topic. Isn't that good? So not only do you have a reason to reach out and ask people, but they also provide a resource that you can share with people to invite them. Now, let me give you another word of mouth strategy. Best word of mouth strategy ever. It's called small groups. Because every time you start a small group series, you have leaders of every single one of these groups. And what do you invite those leaders to do? What do you train those leaders to do? You invite them, you train them to reach out and ask people to join their group. So it's that simple. Like, here's a group. I got a group. It's going to meet at my house. Hey, neighbors, you want to come? Come to my kickoff party. Now, here's the other thing we do with small groups. We always have a kickoff party because of the gradient, low gradient. You don't have to commit to anything. Come check it out. It's at my house. It's not at the church. It's at my house. It's just me and a few friends. Come gather around our potato chips. I don't know. You can't do that anymore. You can't really have everybody's hands in the dip like you used to, but you can still do small groups. In fact, sometimes I think as we go into fall, we may find that small local gatherings are the new church. We may be doing Sunday services online, but we may be able to connect in small groups in ways, before we can get back into the large group. And there will be people who feel more comfortable with that. So if someone's like, I'm not comfortable going to church right now, well, hey, I've got a small group, 5 people in my living room. If you're comfortable with that, we would love to have you come. We would love to have you come. And it's a much easier ask. That is the gradient. You come, you check it out. At the end of that kickoff party, then you say, hey, that 6-part series I talked about, it starts next week. And if you want to be part of it, then I invite you to join us for the full 6 weeks. See how that gradient kicks into gear? So it's just come, just check it out, no commitment. And then it's a short commitment. It's a 6-week commitment. And then at the end of that commitment, hopefully by then they are just absolutely in love with each other, getting so much out of it that they just want to do it again and again and again and again. So those are some word of mouth strategies. Here is your challenge. I know I got lots of them for you today. Lots of things to think about, lots of things to look at. So make a list. What are the things that your ministry, your organization, what are you doing to reach out to your newcomers, to your explorers? So if someone's out there exploring spirituality, where are they going to find you? Make a list of them. And then as you have that list down, this might be fun to do with a team, with your board, with your staff, with your leadership team. Go through your list and rank them all. Go to every single one of those pages and say, okay, on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 meaning we haven't posted anything to this thing in a year. Nothing is happening. It's crickets out here. 0 being there is no consistency. There is nothing happening. There is nothing out here for explorers. That would be a 0. To a 10 being, okay, we have a strategy. The content is consistent. We've got something posted at least, I would say at the very, very minimum, at least once a week, but probably once a day, even better. Maybe even a couple times a day if you've got the resources to do that. So look at it in terms of consistency. Look at it in terms of, is it relevant to your explorers? Now, this is a big one because sometimes we're stretched so thin, we like to put everything into one bucket. And so when we put everything in one bucket, what that means is people go there, and the explorers who are kind of looking for what is this are finding announcements that are designed for the board of trustees, or here's your chance to sign up, or here's there's an ask and an ask and an ask to do and to give and to to engage at a level that they're not quite at yet. So take a look at your social media, take a look at all the things you're doing, take a look at your bulletin, take a look at your announcements. And ask yourself, how many of these are for your explorers? What if you were to delete everything that is in one of those channels, every message that's not really geared toward an explorer? I'd recommend in your bulletin, get rid of every announcement that is not for your explorers. Connect with your members through email, connect with your members through your small groups, connect with your members in a different way. Your bulletin is for your explorers. We'll talk more about that next week when we talk about engagement. Your social media, your public social media is for your explorers. Make sure the content is for your explorers. Now, if you want to go deeper, you want to give announcements, you might have a Facebook group for your members. That's a different thing, and it has a different purpose. So for every one of your channels, make sure you know what the purpose is and that it's there to reach the explorers. Make sure your content is relevant and engaging for those who are checking out your community. All right, and now I'm going to give you a few considerations to think about as you are deciding which of these channels do we actually want to keep, which ones are serving us, and which ones can we let go of. So question number 1, what is your capacity? If you don't have anyone to maintain your Facebook page, don't bother with the Facebook page. A lot of these things you can archive or you can unpublish and bring them back later. So you don't have to actually delete the site. You can just say, okay, for right now, we don't have the resources for that. So for right now, I'm going to unpublish this site because it's not really representing how vibrant our community truly is. Does that make sense? So what is your capacity? Isn't that good? All right, next question to ask yourself is, how effective is this channel at reaching explorers? When you talk to new people and you say, hey, how'd you find out about us? How many of them say, oh, I found out about it through your Twitter feed. Oh, I found out about it because you were on TikTok. I found out about it through Instagram. If people are saying that, then it's like, okay, great. We're going to keep doing that. But if people are saying, I'm here because my boyfriend brought me, or I'm here because I was just driving by and I saw your sign and I saw volunteers working on the gardens and it looked like fun, or I'm here because a friend mentioned that you were doing something. I'm here for a certain class. I'm here because I got invited to a small group. Find out what's working in terms of reaching your explorers. Then as you look at your channels, think about how easy is it to share? How easy is it to scale it? Is this an easy thing for me to duplicate? Because you might be thinking, I know some of you do big events. Oh, we do yard sales and we do concerts and we do special events and plays and drama and all these different things. So the question is that easy to duplicate? Is that easy to share? Is that easy to scale? So ask yourself some of these questions so that you can simplify your process, do less, and do it better. Next question, final question, how relevant is the content? When you look at your channel, how relevant is it to someone who has never stepped foot in your community, who doesn't know anybody? How relevant is it and how does it speak to them? So this is a great opportunity to go and review all the things that you have out there, all the printed materials, if you do ads, if you do flyers, anything like that. Take a look at it all, give it a nice objective look, and ask yourself, is this serving to bring in new people? Got it? So that's the challenge. Choose your channels, match to your capacity, and identify what are you going to invite them to? What is your call to action? All right, so that is today's main idea is how do you reach out and share your mission with those explorers? I would love to hear from you. go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/groups/spiritgroups. Share what you've gotten out of today and how you might be using some of these ideas in your own ministry. If you've got questions and you want people to say, hey, can you look at our website and give us some feedback? Hey, can you look at our social media? Give us some feedback. Those are some great things to do to reach out to each other and support each other in getting some nice, honest feedback and sharing some ideas that we can be better together. Next week, it is a holiday week, so we're actually going to be off next week. But when we come back after the holiday, we're going to take the next step in this engagement strategy. And the next step is taking these people who've walked in the door, whether that's walking in the door to a Sunday service, walking in your virtual door to an online service, walking in the door to a small group. We're going to talk about how do you, once they've walked in the door, how do you engage them? How do you get permission to follow up with them? How do you keep them coming back for more? So if you're enjoying The Leading Edge, if this is beneficial to you, to your ministry, if this is helping you bring your mission to life, I encourage you to make a contribution at patreon.com/spiritgroups. Your support is helping us provide this kind of training to New Thought communities all around the globe. Thank you for being part of this Leading Edge community. Thank you for your leadership, for all that you do to bring our teachings, our message, and our mission to the world. I'm Mindy Odlin. I can't wait to see you next time right here on The Leading Edge.
I thought it was The Bleeding Edge.
The Bleeding Edge? No, that's my other show.